What I love is building businesses. What I'm proud of is that I know a lot of you follow me on Instagram and things of that nature where it's motivational, like get up and do it, and fuck this and fuck that, and da-da-da-da. I love that, but what's much more interesting to me is the fact that I've gone out and done it, right? I went out and built a $60 million e-commerce retail business. In the last 6 years, I've built one of the fastest growing digital advertising agencies in the world. I've built that literally from zero to $130 million in revenue in 6 years. I've done it. I've executed. And so for me, the operations is what I wanted to do. And so what I'm in the middle of is I've built VaynerMedia, this big agency, but my dream and why I built it is over the next decade, I'm gonna go out and buy Apple, Cracker Jacks. I'm gonna go out and buy Ked sneaker. I'm gonna go out and buy San Pellegrino sparkling water. I'm gonna go out and buy brands, and then I'm gonna run them through my machine, and I'm gonna market like it's 2020, not like it's 2003 or 2005. What has been fascinating for me in the last 5 to 7 years being on Madison Avenue at Cannes, advertising festival, being in the agency landscape, not in the entrepreneur landscape, is how much money is being wasted, how much money is being poured into television and programmatic banner and pre-roll digital assets. An ungodly amount of money is being thrown directly in the trash. We are living through the greatest human shift in communication since the radio to the television. This is the single biggest shift in the way that we interact since the late 40s and early 50s in the US and a little bit later in other parts of the world. My friends, this is it. If you do not storytell, communicate, market on this device and on the 8 or 9 platforms that dominate this advice, you are barely existing. And that is happening on an everyday basis. It's not that people don't see outdoor billboards or print ads or television ads. I'm fine with that. Everything potentially works. I'm just worried about what's underpriced and what's overpriced. To me, the punchline isn't what's working and not working. It's what's appropriately priced and underpriced. That is why I use the word day trade, because for me, if Snapchat is rolling in the US and European markets for under 35 and it's a good deal, and the next day Instagram decides to copy all of its features and it slows down, then that's fine by me. If I wake up tomorrow and find out that Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and Tumblr and YouTube and Google are gone, no emotion for me. As a matter of fact, that would be better, because that would mean that everybody has to scramble to figure out where everybody's attention is, and I just have no romance or no financial tie-in to what I want it to be. I just need to figure out where it's gonna be. And so I implore, actually, let me break this down. How many people here are entrepreneurs and have their own company? Raise your hand. Okay. How many people here work at an agency? Very nice. How many people at a corporation or a company? Love it. So now that I've got that sense, let's talk a little bit about the third one, because there was a lot of hands. One of the things that I'm very fascinated by is that I have a very interesting feeling in my stomach what just happened. One more time, third one, work in a company, raise your hands. So this one's very interesting to me as I look around and get the feeling, because I believe that if you were here at this conference and you work at a company, you're in an interesting spot. And let me tell you what that interesting spot is, and I see this every day around the world, every part of the world that I go to. I believe in my heart that you know what's happening. I believe that you know what's happening. I believe that if your children's health was on the line, that you would spend the marketing dollars in a very different way. I feel that you're in a machine that forces you to justify your spending against reports or history or your boss's boss point of view that's driving what you say in every meeting, but what you think in your head is completely different. And to me, this is the most fascinating thing, because let me tell you why. I am a human being. So what's happened over the last 5 years is the brand managers and the CMOs and the people that I interact with have become my friends. I like them. Obviously I want to do business with them. Some move on, some you work with, but you become friends. It's human. And what's become very, very upsetting to me is some of them are very smart, they understand what to do, but they're just saying what they're supposed to say so they get a promotion or so they don't get fired. And what I keep trying to remind them, and what's about to happen in the corporate landscape over the next 5 to 7 years as this whole world changes, is these companies are making you say certain things in the room based on the current rules. When it's not gonna work over the next 4 to 5 years, they're gonna fire you for agreeing with it, and that sucks. And so if I can leave you, for now that I think about it, I always think about, this is a long schlep. You know, obviously I'm very thankful for getting paid, but you know, I've got a lot of business to be running, and so obviously I'm here mainly because, to be very honest, I'm here for a couple of reasons. One, I love the swagger of the organizers and how they came at me. Two, and probably even a little bit more, I've just been dying to come here and visit your amazing country and city, so thank you for having me. And that's why I want to do Q&A. And then when I fly home tomorrow morning first thing, I'll really know why I came. It's gonna be one question, one answer, one feeling, but the one that's leading right now is if I can get one person in this room that is now, I realize, predominantly people that are employees, yet, again, if you're here, understand what's actually happening. If I can get one of you to have the courage, and I don't want to get anybody, I don't need anybody emailing me in 4 months saying, fuck you, Gary, I got fired. Not interested. Not interested. Don't email me, you live your life. But I'm gonna give you a very good piece of advice. If you can figure out how respectfully, whether in the room, after work at drinks, at a holiday party, somewhere, some way, make sure everybody knows where you stand in your head on where the world is, not what you're saying to appease the machine, because it's going to be that one conversation with that one person that gives you an opportunity 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, and you have to be historically correct. I am very proud that I've built VaynerMedia from 0 to 130 million in 6 years. I just want you all to understand, Romania, I could have built VaynerMedia from 0 to 400 million in the last 6 years, but I refuse at all costs to not be historically correct. Being historically correct is the biggest ROI in life, let alone business. And I know, again, by those hands and by what's actually going on in the world at this moment, that so many of you are being put in a position to be historically incorrect at a very difficult time in where you are in your careers, and you will curtail your upside. So please, if you believe something, figure out how to communicate it properly, respectfully, because it is the biggest asset you have. Your points of view, your thoughts, your ideas, your passions in what's actually happening. Because I promise you, I know most of you do not believe in the majority of what you're spending your advertising on. It's just what's happening. You can't be a common-sensed individual. You can't have half a brain and believe in what's actually happening right now. We are living through the greatest era of wasted money in marketing ever, because we're in the decline of traditional, in the rise of digital. 80% of the digital assets are complete fucking garbage, because nobody here wants to go to a website, look on the right side, scroll down, and look at the banner ad on the right. Nobody here went to go see that YouTube video of somebody skiing and was excited about watching a car pre-roll run for the first 13 seconds. Nobody consumed that. We do not talk enough about the actual impact of a CPM on the brand. There are brands that I no longer buy because they bother me so much digitally and steal my time when I'm on my mobile device. Let me tell you what's the worst thing in the world. A pop-up, a mobile pop-up on a cell phone. It takes up the entire screen. The fucking X is this small. I try to exit, but of course you fucking hit the ad by accident. Back home at the brand and the agency, they're like, yeah, 2% click-through. Meanwhile, Every time I click those ads, I literally mentally say, thank you. I mentally say to myself, I am never buying that sneaker brand again. And so we're having a very undereducated conversation around marketing. We have two factions. We have the traditional. In a couple weeks, I'm going to go to Cannes, right? And I'm going to want to shoot myself in the head because it's thousands of people who just dream about the video and think it's the greatest thing, and this fucking statue is their life, and it didn't sell any fucking product, assholes. And then a week later, I'll go to Silicon Valley and check in on some of my startups, and all it is math nerds who think all of marketing is math. Let me just tell you, math nerds, real quick. Let me tell the camera, math nerds. If marketing was math, it would be over by now. It's not fucking math. So, what we need to do in marketing is we need to take the best of both worlds. We need the art assholes in Cannes and the math assholes in Silicon Valley to have sex and have a child. And that's what I think about every day. For me, marketing is very simple. It comes down to, what am I trying to accomplish? Am I trying to sell this sneaker? Am I trying to raise money for a cause? Am I trying to get somebody elected? What am I trying to do? What is my goal? And to me, when that becomes a thing, that becomes the KPI, not the weekly reporting that is math. Guys, Google is the toll booth of the internet. It gets all the extra credit that it does not deserve because of consumers' behavior. You may see a billboard outside that makes you go to Google because that's your search behavior to get to the website, and it gets the credit. Last touch attribution for all the people that are in this is such a horseshit metric, yet we trade on it. CPM cost being the reason you do something is insane. When the hell was the cost of something the direct attribution to its value? Never. And so we are in a very interesting time. Meanwhile, $80 billion in the US is poured into television ads. When I looked at the data coming to Romania, the amount of dollars still spent traditionally is very high. There's nobody on earth who's watching television commercials. Guys, they don't exist. Even your fucking 90-year-old grandma, when the commercial comes on, she grabs her cell phone and texts you, honey, I miss you. It's true. The attention is what matters. Can you honestly tell me that the people that you're trying to reach in this great country or the surrounding countries to sell your product, do you actually think they're paying attention to a commercial? Do you think billboards globally, outdoor media's cost in the last 4 years is up 12% globally, up. Meanwhile, every passenger in every car in the world no longer looks outside. There's not a single passenger in any vehicle that looks outside. Every person here, if they're a passenger or take public transportation on the way home today, will not give a view to an outdoor piece of content that they would have 20 years ago, because they would have looked out, they would have been like, oh, Gary was amazing. Oh, look, a brand. You know, now they're here 24/7. And to be very honest, I don't know if you've noticed, even the drivers are paying attention to this. It's never been scarier to drive. And so I just am fascinated, and I'm so grateful. And I remind people here who've been in the game a little bit, or for people that are quite young and just starting out, we are very lucky. This is a very specific time. Again, globally, the 1950s to 2015, 65 years globally. Every market's different. Obviously, I'm very familiar with the Soviet regimes and different things, but globally, for 65 years, print, radio, television, direct mail, outdoor, like very consistent. You didn't have to be a rocket scientist. Very easy to go to school and figure it out. Storytelling had been figured out. Go look, you know what's very fun? Go to YouTube and type in the first television commercials. The first 100 television commercials were actually radio ads because we just came from radio. The first 100 television ads was a picture like that and a man standing behind it and reading a radio ad. We as marketers, as business people, hadn't figured out how to use the medium yet. That's what's happening on Facebook right now. Facebook is the greatest marketing tool that the world has ever seen. Right now, when I looked at the cost of advertising here, because I knew I was coming, the Facebook awareness, the Facebook ad product in this country is so grossly underpriced compared to the alternatives, it is staggering. I opened an office in London because of Europe's collective massive underpricing of the Facebook marketplace. You know what's really good, kids, when you get a little older and start losing a little hair? You see patterns. This is what happened in Google. When I looked at Google in 2004, when I came to be on a wine buying trip, I went to go run some ads while I was in Bordeaux for Wine Library, but I didn't realize, because it was late, 2 o'clock in the morning, I was in the French ad product, and when I went to go place ads, they were so inexpensive, I got excited. I didn't realize that I'd stumbled into, wait a minute, they are so much more underpriced here, because what's amazing about Facebook and Google that is not amazing about television, print, and CPM costs on digital media products is it's a real marketplace.